Hi all, welcome to Page Up TV where we cover business, technology, politics, and everything else in between. Buckle up. This plane is about to take off and instead of chicken or beef, we are serving news, views, and opinions. So what's on the menu today?
If you've been following the news coming out of South Africa lately, you might be feeling some serious whiplash. The headlines are just a chaotic mix of crisis and opportunity, often in the very same week. So let's dive in and try to make sense of what's really going on, using the headlines themselves to build a clearer picture.
Right, so if you're only paying attention to one side of the story, the outlook would seem incredibly grim. You'd start with this, a stark warning from the credit rating agency Moody's. They're suggesting the country's high interest rates and massive debt could kick off a negative economic spiral. I mean, that's a powerful and, honestly, a deeply worrying statement. And it's not just one isolated warning, not at all. It feels like a constant barrage of bad news. You see headlines about the nation sinking into a debt trap, shocking new corruption stats coming out, and even a provincial government having to step in to save a millionaire hotspot town from what's being called total collapse. It really paints a picture of a system in crisis.
To put a number on all that anxiety, one report flags a staggering 3 trillion rand. So what is that? Well, that's the amount of pension funds said to be under threat. When you see a figure that massive and you tie it to people's actual life savings, it just drives home that sense of urgency and risk.
And look, this concern isn't just coming from analysts or reporters, it's coming from the very top. When Andre de Ruyter, the former CEO of the national power utility, Eskom, issues a public warning directly to the president and the country, you know the stakes are incredibly high. This is an insider sounding the alarm. So, okay, the case for a crisis seems pretty solid, right? It all looks pretty bleak. But is that all there is to it? Because if you look just as closely at that very same period in the news cycle, a completely different and frankly baffling narrative starts to emerge.
And this is where the story gets really complicated. On one hand, a headline declares the country's finances are slowly falling apart. But then, at almost the exact same time, another one reports the currency is flexing its muscles because money floods into South Africa. Wait, what? How can both of those things possibly be true at once?
And the positive signals just keep coming. You see headlines about the world's biggest bank backing the country. There's good news that could lead to interest rate cuts, and then you see these stories of incredible corporate success. A 40-year-old retailer is apparently set for major gains, while another local company is making huge waves over in the UK. This is the complete opposite of a death spiral.
And this isn't just abstract financial news, numbers on a screen. Amidst all the talk of collapse, there's real, tangible proof of success happening on the ground. The owner of a major shopping mall isn't just surviving, they are, and I love this phrase, shooting the lights out.
So where do we see this tension most clearly? Well, let's start with what we can call the corporate battlefield. This is a place where that immense risk and that incredible reward are just colliding head-on.
The contrast here is just stark. In one story, a massive international company's entire South African operation, and we're talking thousands of jobs, is hanging in the balance. But then, at the same time, one of the country's oldest firms is on the verge of massive success. It's a total high-wire act.
And the story gets even more nuanced. Take the insurer Outsurance. So get this, their international business recorded a huge loss, 450 million rand. You'd think that would be a complete disaster, right? But despite that major hit, their overall profits still surged. It shows this incredible ability to stay profitable even while navigating huge setbacks.
And hey, this strange pattern isn't just in finance and retail. We see the exact same thing in the tech sector. This paradox of digital decay happening right alongside incredibly dynamic growth. I mean, nowhere is this divide clearer than right here. On one side, you've got government initiatives, like the digital driving license, running into all sorts of problems. But on the other, the private sector is going full throttle, rolling out affordable fiber internet for as little as 5 rand per day. It's a classic story of public sector struggle meeting private sector acceleration. And the examples just keep coming. You'll see reports of bad news for the IT sector, and then right next to it, you see news that the country is launching its first fiber connections faster than 1 gigabit per second. The old state-run telephone company's network is failing, while a leading mobile provider is pouring money into digital skills for the next generation. It's like you can see the legacy systems dying off as new ones are being born in real time.
Okay, so we've seen the death spiral narrative, and we've seen the surprising boom narrative. We have two powerful, completely opposing sets of data points. How on earth do we bring them together to understand what is actually happening?
And you know what? Maybe this is the answer. The real story isn't one or the other. It's not just crisis, and it's not just opportunity. The actual lived reality of South Africa today seems to be the story of the contradiction itself. This complex, unstable, but incredibly dynamic state of simultaneous decay and growth.
Yeah, think of it like prevailing winds. There's a dominant, powerful wind of state-led crisis and decay that's blowing, and you absolutely can't ignore it. But at the same time, there is an equally strong countercurrent of private sector innovation, resilience, and opportunity that's pushing right back. The country isn't moving in one direction. It's caught right between these two powerful forces.
And all of this leaves us with the ultimate question. The country is so clearly at a crossroads, being pulled in two directions at once. And looking at all the evidence, it's just impossible to say with any certainty which of these powerful forces, the crisis or the opportunity, will ultimately win out and define its future.